Yes, it is that time again for another Capture One tutorial. Hi everyone, welcome to Pal to Tech and welcome to lesson number 4 in my ongoing series of Capture One tutorials. Like always, I'm picking up right where I left off at the end of lesson 3. If you've not yet seen that tutorial, please make sure that you go and watch those videos as we will continue to build upon those concepts. Today we're going to be doing a few things. First, a little review and better understanding of the crop, rotation, and keystone tools. Then we're going to go straight into color editing. For the purpose of this video, I will have a raw file that you may download and use for practice. I do request that this photo be only used for the purpose of this tutorial for you to practice and learn Capture One. I like to organize my crop tools, my rotation tools, and my keystone tools all in the same area under one tab. I also threw in the overlay in the grid. Have a look at this photo I shot in Savannah, Georgia. Cropping, hands down, is one of the most effective, simplest, fastest, and easiest ways to make a photo go from good to great. Check out what this photo looked like before I cropped it. Look at that. Ugly, ugly, ugly. You got this, construction thing right here because they're working on the escalator. You could tell now it's kind of in this boring hotel, but by just applying this crop, have a look at this. It changes everything. So it's really good to use crop if you don't already know that already. And Capture One has the standard crop tools that Lightroom and the rest of them have. So for example, to get to the crop tool really quickly, just press C on the keyboard. C. It's 2 seconds. That's one of those shortcuts you need to remember. It changes into this, and then you can simply drag the corners and crop. You see that? Now there are various what are called modifier keys that can do additional things to the crop tool. For example, if you hold down the Option key on your keyboard and you drag, it'll crop from the inside whoosh, right out. I'm not going to go through all these different modifier keys, just experiment with them, but the main ones are Option on a Mac, which I think is Alt on Windows, I hope. And of course Shift. If you hold down Shift, that will lock the aspect ratio. There are 2 other things you should know about crop. First is that if you take your mouse and you hover over the corner of the image right there, it turns into the rotate tool. So then you can click and rotate the image, and now you're working in the rotation tab. We're going to get to that in just a second. So just know that if you hold the mouse cursor to the corner, right, it is a shortcut to quickly rotate the image. The second thing you need to know is that you can quickly change from portrait to landscape crop by simply dragging up or down with the mouse. So if you're in a situation like this and you're in horizontal, just kind of whoosh down the mouse this way, whoosh, and there you go, you're in vertical. Just whoosh, like that. Sound effects optional. Now the crop tab has all of the usual controls such as help and copy and reset and so forth. You can set your ratio here. You can add an aspect ratio. So if you wanted to add one, I'm going to call this Pal to Tech Weird. This is a weird ratio, and I'm going to say I want my ratio to be 1 to, I don't know, 47. There we go. Now, if I try and crop, I can crop, just like this, right? It's these little things that just make me so happy. You can change your size in inches and pixels and so forth. I prefer to have show grid with cropping turned on, and you have grid options in a dedicated panel right here where you can change the colors and you could show different areas of it and the golden ratio and the various tools that you have. Experiment with them, play with them, change the colors. You can do that on your own. I want you to be aware though that you should group all of these tabs together. So you should have crop, you should have rotate, you should have keystone, you should have overlay and grid. They should all be there ready so you can just work on them and have them all in one place. Now, something very important you need to be aware of about the crop tool. The crop tool looks at how you have your export options set, and it goes by those. So it kind of, those override, so to speak. Let me show you what I'm talking about. If I go into my export options, and we will do a whole video on various export options, Instagram and so forth, there is a dedicated panel there to do that, and it is called Process Recipes. In that, there is an area for scale. So for example, let's go back, look at my crop tool right here. Right now, my size is 5859 by 39 2906, okay? Unconstrained. You see that right there? Now, let's go to the export, and a lot of people don't realize this, but if my export was set for my long edge of the photo, right, to be, let's say, 1080, okay? Now, if I set that at 1080, if I go back to my crop, have a look at this. Do you see that? It changed it right here. So if you notice that your crop is looking a little odd when you first press C and start cropping, make sure you check your process recipe dimension settings, and it's a little bit of confusion there. Okay, let's move on to the rotation tool. I'm not gonna spend a lot of time on this because I did cover it in a prior video a little bit, but just to show you, if you go into rotation and flip, you can change things like angle, left, right, and then choose whether to flip it horizontal or vertical. Something I do want to tell you that's very important. With rotation and flip, and Keystone in particular, has a little automatic icon. And normally when you click that magic wand, like for example, if you click in an exposure, it will automatically make your picture look how it thinks the exposure should look. Those magic wand autofix tools in Capture One, most notably in rotation and flip and in Keystone, those are actually assigned and work with Phase 1 cameras. They won't work with Fujifilm, so you need to do it yourself manually here. Let me show you how to do that. So if you go into rotation and flip, click on the little rotator tool right here, or you could go up here and there's a rotator tool with some options. I'm just going to choose straighten, and again you can press R on your keyboard to get to it quickly. Then you simply draw a line across what you think should be straight. Have a look at this. Okay, I'm gonna draw this line like that. Boom. See that? And it kind of straightens it out for you. Click on another tool to save it, and you're good to go. Pretty basic. The other thing you could do, obviously, is click rotate freehand, and then you could just rotate the picture freehand based on a grid that pops up. You may find it easier to actually turn the angle using the slider key instead of trying to turn it from the corner. Next is the Keystone tool, which allows you to correct perspective distortion based on a lens. You will most commonly see this when you're taking photographs of buildings, etc. So there's a complete tool tab for Keystone adjustment, as well as a Keystone tool at the top here, where you can choose to correct vertical, horizontal, or both. In this case, we're going to do vertical, and then what happens is on the screen you get these lines with these little drag sliders. Kind of go to the outline of what you want to be straight. Simply move them like that. When you are finished, you can't just click a tool. You need to click the apply button. You see that? That's something that a lot of people miss. Click the apply button right here. Boom, there you go. Look at how straight that is. Now, what you may have to do after you apply a Keystone correction is you may need to go to your crop tool and then, readjust your crop because you may not have enough space. Have a look at that. You see that? I love the color editing features of Capture One. Let's take a look at them. Now, on a default installation of Capture One, the color editing tools are in the color editing tool tab area right here. So when you're going to be doing color editing in Capture One, I recommend having the following tool tabs in this area here. You can have layers at the top. I would have your color editor next, and your color balance, histogram, and then I threw in black and white, normalize, and white balance, right? So basically there are two color editing areas that you need to be working with: color editor and color balance. Most of the work we're going to do today is going to be in color editor. We will cover color balance a little bit more in a future tutorial. There are 3 sub-tabs of color editor: basic, advanced, and skin tone. For the most part, I think you should ignore basic. It doesn't give you enough options, and once you learn how to use advanced, you can just go straight to that and you can do everything that you can do in basic plus more. Basic basically is basic. You have your standard color palette here. You have hue, saturation, and lightness that you can adjust, but really what you care about is this little picker right here. And you can get to this, I'm gonna actually move this to here, and you can get to this same tool right here from up here. Basically, there you go, direct color editor. You see that? I'm gonna click on this tool here and I'm gonna pick a color in the sunrise. Just boom, pick on a color right there. All right, so I just clicked on it, and as you can see, the color editor automatically selected the closest match, which was orange, and then from here you can change the hue just like that, change the saturation, and so forth. Frankly, this color editor here reminds me of the kind of color editor that you would see like on a smartphone, right? And like Instagram where you edit the colors. It's very blunt and it doesn't give you a lot of options. Let's move on to the advanced. Okay, here's where we want to really focus on. And it looks a little weird. It's just a zero, right? It's just a wheel. It's totally blank. It's like, you know, and people look at that and they're like, you know, what did they do? They don't know what to do. Well, I'm going to show you what to do. Couple of things you need to know before we get started. First, color editing can be done right on this layer here, okay? So if you look at layers, I am working on my background layer, right? So I could just go ahead and start editing colors to this background layer. You know, I could change the hue, the saturation, but that's probably not the best way to work. You really want to work in your own color layer that you create so that you can turn it on or off, or you can go back to it easily and make changes later on. So that's what we're going to do. But for now, just know that you could either adjust and edit colors in the background, the main picture layer, or you can create a layer on top of that where you do your color edits, and that's the best way to do it. So advanced color editing always begins with the color selector tool right here. Click on that, and then just click an area of the image where you want to start making your adjustments. Boom. Have a look at that. So here's what's happened. The little dot represents the exact color, hue, and saturation and luminance that you have selected. There is a little bit of bleed off into the yellow and the pink. You see that? And you can adjust that smoothness by this. You see, have a look at that. You see that? So you can get a little bit more smooth and flexible and bleeding into the next color, or you could be very strict with your color, right? So let's just keep it maybe to right there. Obviously, if you change your hue, you see, so you can modify the hue fairly easily, as well as your saturation. You can turn down your saturation a little bit. The other thing you could do is select the entire saturation range through this tool right here. Watch what happens here when I click this tool right here. Boom. You see that? So that's the full saturation of that color in this part of the color wheel. And here's the color range right here. Have a look at this. You see this? It starts from here and goes to here. Now, I think that color editing, the advanced color editor, is the best tool in Capture One. This is the best part of the best tool in Capture One. Check this out. If you click on View Selected Color Range, boom. What it does is it makes everything else in the photo black and white except for the area that you've selected, so you can quickly and easily see what you need to adjust. Now down below here, you have your color that you've selected, and you can have up to 30 colors that you can select and adjust. So for example, I'm gonna go up here, I'm gonna click on this area, boom, it added another one, you see that? I'm gonna click over here, boom, another one here, and then you can edit and modify each one. And this will invert the color range. So if I click on this, boom, it selects everything else but what I selected. I want to bring down the saturation a little bit. I do want to change the hue, make a little bit of an adjustment. Okay, pretty quick and fast. If I do a before and after, have a look at, there's before, there's after. There's before, there's after. Now, as I told you, you can either edit and apply color edits to the basic background layer, or you can create your own layer, which is the better way to go. So what I should have done, I'm going to reset everything right now by clicking reset. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new filled adjustment layer. We'll call it color. Always label your stuff. And we're going to be working with this layer. Now, something really, really important, and this applies to everything in Capture One. Have a look right here. When I click on a layer, boom, you see that little paintbrush? That means that that tool is working in a layer. It's not working on the main picture background, it's working in a layer. Very important to remember that. So you'll see that little thing, and it will do that with other tools. Look up here, color balance, white balance, you see that? But if I click out of that and back to the background, oh, they disappear. Really important to remember that. So let's go to the sunset right here. There we go. We're gonna do exactly the same thing. I'm just gonna show it to you again. Click on an area of the photo. Okay, there There's my range. I'm gonna go ahead and make it black and white, everything except that, just so I can have a better look at it. Let's change the hue a little bit. Let's turn down the saturation a little bit. There, done. And here's what's so great about layers. If I wanna see what it looks like without that correction, I just untick the box. There it is, look at that. If you're looking at it and you want to expand your color range, you can click and drag this. You see that? You can include more colors in the photo if you wanted to. The other thing you could do is drag this up to reduce the range as well. Look at what's happening in the photo. You see that? You see how less is selected, more is black and white. When I move this down, look at how much more gets affected. You see that? And of course, you could then move this to other places. Well, there's just nothing blue in this photo, right? So you got to move it back. But generally, you're not going to make those kind of moving the thing around the wheel. So generally, what you're going to do when you're using this for basic color editing is you're going to click on the dropper, select the color. You'll see it appear right here. You might just move this a little bit, or if you want to quickly select the entire thing, click on the little cone, boom, and then you'll just fiddle with these sliders right here and probably, view selected color range. I would tick that and turn it on and you're good to go. And make sure that you do it in its own color layer so you'll have that flexibility. Let's look at another use for this where we can select just part of the image very easily. For the next few exercises, I'm going to work on the same raw file I've given you for download. So go ahead and open it up right now. Let's do this together. Have your advanced color editor open, have the image open that we have right here. Let's have a look at this. We are going to first click the little dropper and select the sky. It should look like this for you. If it doesn't, make sure you check the box that says view selected color range. Only the sky was selected, except though there's a little bit of bleeding right here. You see that? A little bit of blue is caught there. We don't want that. You might want to reduce down the smoothness and perhaps even modify this a little bit to try and get as much of it gone as you can. You see that? You don't want to do too much. You don't want to do too much, but it's sort of a matter of just looking at it and playing with it a little bit. Basically, try and get it to something like this. Now, check this out. What you want to do now is click on the little three dots, create masked layer from selection. We're going to call this sky adjustment. Okay, now on your keyboard, press the M key, okay, for mask, M, boom. Have a look at that. Now, obviously it didn't do a perfect job. It did catch some of this right here. That's really easy to fix. Click on the little eraser, and then you can use the open bracket keys to make it larger. You see that? And then if you see any red, just get rid of it. There, gone, okay? There, it's gone. And you might have a little bit of red, not much on the waterfall. If you do, you can just kind of get rid of it right there. But basically, you should see the sky and only the sky, and it's a fast way to quickly select sky and be able to work on it and do other things to it because you have it in a layer. I'm going to press M. Because I have sky adjustment in a layer, if I go into my exposure, I can turn down my exposure. I can make the sky dark or make the sky light. I can work on the contrast, the brightness. It gives you a way to make adjustments to an entire range of the photo very easily. So what you want to do is select the color in that range, refine it, create a masked layer of that, and then work on that layer. This is one heck of a red barn, okay? Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. First thing, we're gonna go to our advanced color editor. We're going to click on the red barn. All right, there's our red barn right there. Okay, so I wanna get the full range. I'm gonna go ahead and click on this cone right here. Now, I think I've pretty much got all the red selected, but what I'm gonna do to check that is view selected color range, okay? That's pretty darn close. I'm just gonna, well, I can see a little bit right here, but I'm not gonna worry about that right now. All I'm gonna do is go, create masked layer from selection. We'll just name it barn. Okay, now that we have a layer, we hit M for mask, there it is. And before we get started, I'm gonna click on the eraser tool right here, and I'm just going to erase, okay? We don't want it here on the waterfall either. We certainly don't want it here. Some of that red does bleed over a little bit. Then you can kind of get rid of the red. What we have is we have the barn completely selected and only the barn in its own layer. That's the place you need to get to. So you should see something that looks like this. Now I'm gonna press M again to unmask. By the way, be careful with the mask because the mask is red and the barn is red. And if you're not really paying attention, if you mask it, that looks like the barn's really red, but you actually have a mask over it. So I'm gonna hit M. That's the barn right there. Now you can go into your curve tool. I'm gonna drag it out here so we can take a look at it. There's our curves. I'm gonna click on the red channel. So if I hover my mouse over the bar, and I can see roughly where that is here. So I'm just gonna go ahead and drag this down a little bit there, okay? Then I'm gonna go to my blue channel and just kind of drag it up a little bit. I mean, you could radically change stuff. Obviously, a color change like this is ugly, and you're not going to want to do it this extreme. I'm doing this just to show you. However, you can clearly modify and make significant modifications to colors within an image. Try changing the barn to a different color. And if you know how to do that, and you can figure out how to do that using the tips that I showed you, then go to one of your photos and do a much more subtle change, right? Not so dramatic, not so ugly, but a more subtle change. The point is that you understand the concept of selecting a color, right? And then making a layer from that color, and then from there, adjusting the smoothness, the hue, the saturation, and the lightness using these tools. The other thing that Color Editor allows you to do is save as an ICC profile. We're not gonna go over this right now, but that's what that option is about. I never use that, I just use the Fujifilm profiles, but I wanted you to know what that is. What's really awesome about using the Advanced Color Editor is that once you have selected a color and then you create a layer from that, you can then apply other corrections to that. Let me show you what I mean. Here we have a picture of moss growing on the dashboard of my car. No, it's not my car, but anyway, here we have moss growing on the dashboard of a car. Lovely, lovely. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and select the green in that, right? That area right there. And if I look in my black and white, green is definitely what's been selected. I'm gonna go ahead and create a masked layer. I'm just gonna call it moss. Now that I'm in the moss, I don't wanna change the color at all, but I do wanna do other things to it. So for example, I am gonna go over into my clarity, and in the moss only, I'm gonna bump up the clarity a little bit. Whoa, that's too much. See, so I was able to quickly apply just that clarity adjustment only to the moss and the areas that were in green by first using the Advanced Color Editor, selecting the green area, creating a layer from that, okay, like I showed you, and then once I have that layer, I can flip over to the Clarity tab and just adjust clarity. This is the point I want you to get. The Advanced Color Editor allows you to selectively nail down a portion of the photo that you can then make a layer, and then from there do further adjustments. It's awesome for that. That is an additional benefit to just adjusting and modifying color. Now it's time to talk about the third area of the color editor, and that is skin tones. So here I have an image shot on a Fujifilm X-T2 90mm lens. This is a raw file straight out of camera with a Provia film simulation applied. Now let's have a closer look at the skin tones. The colors of skin tones can change based on the lighting of the scene that you're shooting. That's one of the biggest determinations of what the skin tones are going to look like, obviously, is your lighting, right? So here you have skin tones, and they get a little bit more on the pink side right here. I don't know how much YouTube can show exact colors, so please don't hold me to the letter. If I say pink and it looks a little bit more red to you, you know what I'm trying to do here, okay? This is YouTube. So what I'm saying is the colors right here are a little bit different than right here. It's a little more in the pink area, that's all. It's not that it's bad, but you may want to even them out a little bit more. What we're gonna do first is flip over to the skin tone tab. Here it's very similar, almost identical to the advanced tab. However, there's a big fundamental difference, and that is this area right here is a new section that has uniformity controls for hue, saturation, and lightness. And let me tell you before we get started, not to confuse these two. This is the amount, this is the uniformity, but they both say hue, saturation, and lightness. Make sure you're adjusting the correct one, okay? So what we're gonna do, we're gonna click on that, and what you wanna select in the skin tone generally, as a general rule of thumb, is an area that you think the skin tone looks good, right? A well-represented area of the skin tone. I'm gonna go ahead and click right here, boom, there it is. I am going to change the hue a little bit, just a tad. As I bring my hue toward the left, it gets a little bit more in the red side. let me turn up the saturation all the way so you can see this better. Okay, as I move my hue toward this side, it's red, much more red. As I move it over here, it's more on the yellow-green side. Let me put back the saturation. By the way, if you want to put these back, double click on them. Okay, now I'm gonna go ahead and make this a little bit more on the yellow side, just a little bit, not much. Lightness, I'm gonna turn it down just a little bit less light, and I'm gonna turn up the saturation a little bit, actually. Okay, not much. I don't know how much of this you can see in YouTube, but hopefully you can see some. Now, again though, we're still having variations and differences in color, okay? So what you can do now is uniformity. So the hue slider for uniformity makes the color range more uniform, basically. It makes it more even, more the same throughout the skin. Again, please don't confuse this with the hue slider here. This changes the hue. This one takes the hue that you already have and it makes it more even throughout the skin. Okay, so have a look at her shoulder right here. I'm gonna crank up the uniformity all the way to the top just so you can see it. Ready? Watch. Boom. See that? It looks more like her face. It's more even. You see that? All right. We obviously don't want it that much, right? So I'm going to turn it down. I'm going to turn up the saturation, uniformity of the saturation a little bit. And lightness, nah, I don't think I need that much of that. I'm going to go back to the hue. I can make it more red by going here, or more yellow. You see that? You see her face? Have her look at her face. See that? More red, more yellow. So you play with these until you get the nice skin tone that you want, okay? I'm just gonna go with this. I could spend another half hour working on this, but let's move on. Here's one problem though. Look at her lips, see? Red, oops, and that's because her lips got sort of caught in, right, to the rest of the adjustments we were making because we were making them to the entire background. And in general cases, you're not gonna wanna do that. So let me show you how to do the same thing, only using the layers that we discussed earlier. Okay, so the very first thing I'm gonna do is add a new empty adjustment layer. And I'm just gonna call this model, all right? Now I've clicked and selected the paintbrush. I am going to draw a quick outline. I don't see anything. Got to press M on my keyboard. There we go. So I just want to quickly kind of outline this, just doing it fast. All right, there we go. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click this layer and select Fill Mask. Boom. There we go. Not too bad. Now what I can also do is refine the mask. You see that? And I can kind of refine it this way or this way. There we go. That's much better. Okay, so there's one issue here. Her lips and her eyes, right? We got to fix that. So let's zoom in. Let's grab the eraser. Remember, we're still working in our model layer. Adjust the size using the keyboard. Open bracket keys. Okay. Yeah, I'm just kind of doing this thing right here. Again, quickly and blunt, but just getting it done here. I'm just erasing this right here. Now, if you notice that you accidentally erase too much, just flip over to the paint and just fix what you've erased. You see that? I'm gonna fix this area right here. All right, there. That's good enough for the purposes of this demo. I'm gonna press M to get rid of the mask. There it is. Now I can apply my skin tone color correction to this masked area of the layer. I'm gonna go ahead and select an area of her skin that I think looks pretty good. Oh, I don't know, maybe her chin. Let's see if I wanna make it, adjust the hue a little bit, make it a little warmer there. Turn up the saturation a little bit, turn down the lightness just a tad. Uniformity, I do want the hue to be more uniform, and you won't have part of her shoulder with more reddish cast, so you turn up the uniformity there, which is much better. I'll turn up the saturation just a little bit. And what I'm doing when I do these Capture One tutorials is I'm cranking up things a little bit more extreme because some of you are probably looking at this on a phone and I want you to be able to see what I'm doing if you can see the changes that I'm making. I probably wouldn't go this dramatic if I were, doing this not for YouTube. Let's look at before and after. Boom. All right, have a look at that's before. There's after. Before, after. Look at her shoulders, before, after. Look at her shoulders, you see that? And her lips now are not affected. What I would normally do is make things like exposure adjustments and all of that sort of thing before I do the skin tone corrections. But again, I've done those tutorials already. This is on skin tones. Okay, so you have some homework for next time. First, I want you to download the raw file of the photo with the barn. Once you do that, I want you to do 3 primary things. First, straighten the barn out a little bit, okay? It's not quite even. You see that right there? Fix the perspective of the barn. Make it a little bit more straight. Rotate it and make it look more straight. The second thing I want you to do is select the sky and build a separate layer from the sky and make an adjustment to that layer. Maybe add more clarity or exposure. Do something to it. The third thing I want you to do is select just the color of the barn and make a dramatic change to that. Change the color completely and try using the curves tool to do so. If you want to make a more minor color adjustment, that is where you get into the color balance tool, which we will discuss in a future video. Next, and very important, I want you to get a photo of somebody's face, okay? And I want you to actually take 2 different photos. If you can, one under more controlled lighting conditions, like in a studio, or where you're really, getting the lighting exactly how you want it, right? And adjusting the white balance using the custom white balance tool on the Fujifilm camera. Do as much as you can to get it right in camera, right? Do that, get one photo like that, then get another photo where it's almost like a snapshot, maybe outside and, in the midday, right? Not a very good lighting condition that causes color cast. In other words, where somebody's face might be one color here, but their shoulder might be a different color there. Bring both those photos into Capture One and use the skin tone tool to fix them, okay? And when you use the skin tone tool, your last thing is make sure that you make a layer. Isolate their skin so that you're not adjusting their eyes or their mouth, okay? Does that make sense? Try that. That's your homework for next time. Well, we covered a lot on this video, and one of my favorite aspects of Capture One. There is so much more you can do with the color editor. My goal wasn't to show you every little possible road that you could take. It was to get you excited and show you what's possible. I hope you found this video helpful, and if you did, be sure to give it the like and subscribe, and I will see you in another video again real soon. Take care.